several times. Okay. All right then, back to leadership. And have I got news for you, as they say, about leadership? What made me think of it was you're talking about Alan Sugar and The Apprentice. I'm not keen on the programme because you end up with what I used to see a lot on the old management selection exercises where you're looking for leaders, possible leadership skills. And if you're a poor rater, and I used to have issue more with the raters than I did with the actual participants. If you're a poor rater, you'll be looking at the guy who's standing there and forcing his way to the flip chart and taking the pen and leading the group and so on. Then you might well miss a really good leader who's sitting there quietly taking stock of what's happening. Anyway, I saw something in the Occupational Digest, Wednesday the 9th of May. Ooh, that's today. No, that must have been when I printed it out. Recent research, anyway.
It's bang up-to-date news.
Yeah. We're always looking for what dispositional affect, what kind of emotional character makes a good leader. We do say that sometimes a good burst of anger can keep people focused. So it's context that matters. So these guys looked and they tested the dispositional affect, i.e. whether you're disposed towards feeling guilty, a guilt-prone person. I don't know why they chose that one, but they chose to look at guilt-prone people and what kind of leaders they make, and they hypothesized. They said, we think that guilt-prone leaders will have better outcomes than more you might call them positive leaders, and certainly those that feel something similar to guilt, but it isn't the same, which is simply shame. So if you feel shamed, it's a bit like spilt milk, but you don't intend to do anything about it. Whereas guilty people, and this is the crux of it, they say, search for how to put things right, because they feel guilty. So would that lead to better leadership behaviours? And Yep, it did. It led to poorer outcomes for those who had a disposition towards shame, and better leadership outcomes for those that were disposed towards feeling guilty. And it was through both the eyes of others and your own efforts. So it was other people were rating the leaders, and you feeling like a leader and what you should do about things. And there's various bits of experiments that they did. But they hypothesized that the guilt-prone people would make better leaders because they're likely to review their behaviour and seek to fix things. You're looking a bit doubtful, Mark.
No, I'm just trying to work it out. Is it that they would seek to fix things when they've gone wrong, or is it that they're more risk-averse so that they don't have to feel guilty about something?
No, it wasn't that they were risk-averse. No, it was actually guilt-prone.
So when they've done it and they feel guilty, then they try and put it right.
Yeah, it can lead to caution. Indeed, it can lead to caution. And they say other people rated them as more capable leaders if groups were given different profiles. They were given a profile of a person who was guilt-prone, a profile of a person who was somebody who tends to feel shameful, and just asked on various criteria and different behaviours that these people were exhibiting whether they thought they were a good leader or a bad leader. And the guilt-prone ones were always rated as better leaders.
Were they rated on outcome or just on other people's opinion of how they were leading?
That some of it was on other people's opinion on how they were leading, and others were on outcome. And they took 140 university staff, for example, and they completed surveys including a measure of guilt proneness before they then put them in groups to carry out 2 exercises. Lo and behold, one of them, how to survive in the desert. Have you ever done that? It's a classic leadership thing, yeah. And you look for who takes control and so on, who has ideas and so on. And another one was, this is the connection with Alan Sugar as well, another exercise where they were looking for choosing a product by generating, a marketing exercise where you had to generate taglines and pictures. So you look at who takes control and who generates the ideas again. And they rated each teammate on the degree of leadership that emerged during the session. So you were saying, I was there, he was a great leader, I felt like following him, or I didn't feel like following him. And it was the guilt-prone that came out best again. Now, the thing that struck... Go on, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'm just sort of wary of the phrase guilt-prone because to me it sounds... I suppose it is guilt-prone. If I get something wrong, try and put it right.
Well,
It seems fairly sensible thing to be doing, but then I shouldn't judge others by my standards, perhaps. But there's 4 of us in the room. I don't know about you two. But does that make me guilt prone? And in that respect, because guilt prone to me as a phrase on its own, I would associate as a negative tendency. Oh, you're always feeling guilty about things. Whereas actually, if you phrase it, give it a different title and say you try and put things right when they've gone wrong, that for me is something that's very positive.
well, yeah, you've got to be careful which way you work the equation. So it's saying that guilt, the reason that people try and put things right when they've gone wrong is probably because they're guilt prone. They feel a sense of guilt. We're not talking extreme guilt. We're talking a character trait, a dispositional. You're more likely to feel that bit guilty and want to put it right. So you see the behaviour of wanting to put it right.
I think the interesting thing that folds out of that is the challenge for a manager identifying those sorts of people.
Yes.
Because when you hear, going back to Alan Sugar's programme, I'm not going to knock everything he does. He saved my football club from disaster. But if you look at the sort of people that are pushing themselves forward there, I think they're totally shameless.
Yes. Exactly.
But if you're an employee, you instinctively begin to find the people that you will feel more comfortable with. And if you look at this from a management point of view, you look at it differently. How do you identify what is reserved versus shy, guilt-prone versus guilt-ridden?
One of the ways the Oxite people would say is you use their questionnaire, and you can
Sure.
assess
Yeah.
these things on questionnaire.
It does come down to definition. I mean, for me, the definition of the shame and guilt. Shame is external. You feel ashamed because other people are looking at you because you did something wrong. Whereas guilt is an internal thing. I feel guilty that I did something wrong, not because other people know I did it, but because I know I did it.
Yeah.
And I can see how the people around them who are watching them as leaders would see that taking responsibility thing as a positive leadership step.
Yes.
It says here that being driven by guilt can lead to being conscious and caring about how your actions are going to affect the well-being of others, because you don't want to feel guilty.
Yeah.
But the thing that struck me was the final conclusion, which was that however, guilt-prone people may be hesitant to take control. So they're not the Alan Sugar standing up there forcing their way to the front. And they will take seriously the impact of other people of their actions and not want to displace other people's hopefulness. So they won't say, sit down, it's my turn. And so they are the less likely people to be coming forward as leaders. So I've always thought the last person we should vote for in an election is the person who wants your vote. I suspect they want to be in power for the wrong reasons. We've got to encourage the people who aren't coming forward.
Yeah. Okay, time for a piece of music, and this one.